In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Welcome to Sabers of Light. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Today, we have a very special guest with us. He's a guest to the show, but he's definitely not a guest to our community. He's somebody very familiar, somebody we all love very much, and somebody that we're all friends with. It's none other than our own, very own Dr. Peter Beshara. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Abuna.
How are you?
I'm doing good, Thank
How's
God.
the family and how is everything?
Everybody's good. Everybody's great.
Enjoying, this episode is being filmed during the Holy 50 days, so enjoying that?
Yes, of course. There's a lot of food. a lot of enjoyment. Yes.
Actually, that's going to be important for today's
Of
episode.
Of course.
So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about yourself first. Tell us about your background, what made you get into the medical field, how long you've been a doctor for, all the good stuff.
So I grew up in Egypt, actually. I finished my medical school back in Egypt. And then after I finished my medical school, I actually was one of the top in the medical school. So I got hired in the medical school to be a resident, and I did ophthalmology residency over there.
Okay.
And I did eye surgeon for 3 years. I got master degree in eye surgery. And then I started actually to finish the FRCS
I don't
of
know what that
Glasgow, which is like a part of England equation to the ophthalmology.
Oh, okay.
But at that point, I actually met my wife right now, Martina, which she is the sister of my best friend. Her brother Michael is my best friend. We went to medical school together, actually in Egypt, and we stayed for like 1 year. And then they got the green card and they moved here. But we kept the connection between each of us. And I used to come visit my family in New York, and he used to come and visit me too.
Okay. A lot of family events that kind of connected you guys together.
And then we met again, and then I started studying the USMLE, and I went to a family medicine residency at UTMB at that point. And since then, I'm working there
At
as
UTMB.
family medicine, yes.
So how many years have you been a doctor for, Kida?
I went to medical school back in 1998.
Okay.
I finished in 2004, so I've been doctor for 21 years.
21 years. Wow.
Yes.
You don't look the aging. Usually doctors, with all love for all our doctors, but you're doing great. You're
Thank
doing
you.
great.
We finished early in Egypt. Like we finished 7 years of medical school, so I graduated when I was like 23.
Okay.
So.
Well, still 20 years of medicine.
Yes.
Especially, yeah. So one thing I will share this. So Dr. Peter is my family physician, and I hope I'm a good patient. I hope.
You're actually a great patient, Apuna.
Oh,
Let's
thank
put it
God.
this way. So this is part of the family medicine. It's you learn from your patient. Like you literally learn from your patient. So you teach your patient, but actually you have the opportunity to learn from your patient. And I take this opportunity from all my patients to learn from them because, again, we meet a lot of people during the days and we talk to them. But some people, they actually listen. And when they listen to your advice and you see the changes in their life, you think like, yeah, you know what? I actually want to change too. I want to change. I want to use actually this opportunity to change myself too. And you're actually one of them that moved a lot in myself for changing.
I really appreciate that. I couldn't have done it without your advice. I was in the beginning. It was one of the toughest things, especially like I got to meet you right after I got ordained a priest, and then like I remember in the beginning I used to drink a lot of coffee.
That's true.
And every time I would come to church with like a cup of coffee, I would have to hide, basically. But then as soon as you definitely like listening to your advice helped me a lot, especially with some of the issues that I had, and now I'm feeling better than ever before, back in shape and all this stuff. And actually, there's one point that you said here that I really want to discuss today, and it's going to be a very good window into what we wanted to speak about. The idea of working with a lot of patients, teaching them about their lifestyle, and then getting feedback and learning from them as well. So being a doctor in any Coptic community, you know that you're going to be the doctor for most of the church.
That's right.
Right? And that's normal. That's normal, and it's something that's great, and something that's a great blessing that we have so many doctors, and all the doctors always put in the effort to help out the community.
Yeah.
So that actually brings me to an important point where when you talk about the idea of learning from your patients or seeing their lifestyle, especially being connected with the church. I want to talk a little bit about the connection between good health and spirituality, because sometimes we lose that connection, or maybe we don't know how that connection exists. So throughout your career as a doctor and as a servant in the church, and just as a Coptic Orthodox Christian in general that's in this field, right? What kind of things can you say when it comes to like spirituality being really connected with your health? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So again, as you know, Abuna, and I'm sure everybody knows that our body is a gift from God, and we have to take care of it. Okay, it's a great blessing. Here's the point about that: any spiritual life, any good spiritual life, start with number one is finding out the problem, and confess about the problem. So you have to find out the problem first. Once you find the problem and you are not in denial that this is a problem that I need to fix, you will be able to fix that problem. That's the good spiritual life. This is how you start your spiritual life. So I have a problem, I have a sin, I have to confess for that sin, and then I have to go to church and so on and so forth and take the communion, all this. The same thing is for the health as well. We have a lot of patients. You talk to them about the problems. The problem is if the patient has it in denial, they don't know what the problem is. They don't know if they have a problem is. And even if you tell them there is a problem and they are actually in denial of that problem, it will not be fixed. But once you get the patient to understand there is a problem in your life, that there is an issue that we have to fix, and he actually believe in that problem, he will be understanding that very well. He will work on it, and then we will be able to fix it. So the connection actually between the spiritual life and the health life is almost the same. But the thing is, once you fix the health life as well, this is give you a big time to think about the spiritual life.
I really like that. Yes, I like that. Especially you mentioned a point that I think is an eye opener for every one of us. The idea of that the majority of a problem, or at least 50% of a problem, is resolved when you acknowledge that there's an issue. The issue of denial. And I think this is something that I can say that we run into all the time with every aspect of our life, that this idea of being in denial or not wanting to accept that something is a problem. I like how you mentioned that, because, you know, to me, I see it on the, you know, as far as the pastoral side all the time, or the family side all the time. But it's interesting that's also a big issue. You know, I would always think that on the medical side, if somebody comes in because they're in pain, they're gonna accept the problem. But it's interesting to hear that even with that, sometimes there's like that stage of denial still exists even in that.
Of course, we actually met a lot of people that they are denial of the problem that they have, and that's why the problem is not fixed, and that's why they go through complication. The same as spiritual life. If you are actually in denial, you're gonna go in through complication,
100%,
and so on. The thing is, the other thing is the connection between the spiritual life and the healthy life. So I will make it like easy. Think about that. If I am not in good health, if I'm eating a bad food, if I'm enjoying my life watching TV, if I'm not doing anything to take care of my health, not running, not exercising, just eating whatever I want, watching TV most of the time, there's no time for God. There's no time for church. There is no time for other spiritual, which is very important for you. So actually, this is actually a big, I would call it a big sin, because if you are not really having a healthy life, you're actually sinning, because you're destroying the gift of God, which is your body. And in the same time, when you are destroying your gift, the gift of body, actually, you're having a problem too, that you're losing the spiritual life.
I think this, I can confirm that with the verse that says you are, your body is the temple of the Lord, and the Spirit of the Lord dwells within you.
Yes.
Actually, one of the examples I always bring up to anybody that comes and talks about any kind of abuse to their body, whether lack of self-control or anything, eating habits or anything like that, from the spiritual side, of course, I always tell them, like, don't forget that your body is the temple of the Lord. And I always give them the example, like, would you ever bring in something inappropriate inside the church? And I'm like, no, of course not, Abuna. I would never do that. Even sometimes, like with the kids, I tell them, like, would you ever bring a soccer ball inside the church and like kick around? No, of course not. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
So then, well, what if I told you that your body, is a church?
Yes.
Right? And it's actually the most valuable church, because the Bible says that your body is the temple of the Lord, and the Spirit of the Lord dwells within you. So the same care and caution that you take with, the church or anything like that, you should double that with your own body. It's a responsibility. Definitely. That's so interesting to hear. I wonder though, like, in the country, especially not just in the United States, but like being in Texas, you know, when I first moved here, you know, I heard the stereotype, everything is bigger in Texas, and it definitely is true.
Yeah.
So like how, you know, taking care of your body or anything like that, you must face like a lot of the, you know, the repercussions of this, you know, everything is bigger in Texas, you know, must be a struggle, like trying to advise people to control portions and to,
That's true.
it's something that's tough. What advice would you give to somebody who is like, you know, in denial that no, I'm okay, I'll be fine, I'll start. Like, what kind of advice would you give from the medical perspective?
The denial problem has to be fixed actually with multiple visits and actually talking to the patient. The communication is very important in that situation. You have to communicate with the patient. You have to build the relationship with the patient. The same as the church, the spiritual life too. As far as you create that connection between the servant, between the congregation and the church, you will be able to fix the problem. If you don't have connection, if you don't have a good communication with your patient, if you don't have a connection or communication with the servant or with the church congregation, you will not be able to fix the problem. So to fix the problem, first of all, you have to communicate the problem. You have to have the connection with that person and tell him what's wrong. Of course, we struggle with that. As you mentioned, Abuna, that Texas, everything is bigger. Yes, I have to tell the patient every day, like, you're not supposed, even if the plate is full, it's not really, you don't really need to finish that. It's just to eat what you need to eat.
You say that to Egyptians?
I said that to Egyptians.
That's like blasphemy, like in our culture.
It is. And I want to tell you something. It's actually working with some of them. It's working very well. Again, as I told you, Abuna, like sometimes I learn. So I'll give you an example. One of the Coptic patients during the Great Fast, I told them, like, you can't eat that amount of bread because, you know, our culture is a big fan of bread and rice.
It's bread, rice, and macarona.
Exactly. This is our thing. So he actually created a great idea. He started using lettuce to eat the beans. So he used the lettuce, the big lettuce.
Like a lettuce wrap.
Yes, to eat the beans, the Egyptian beans. And this is how he get rid of the habit of eating bread. And he was able to lose the weight. He was able actually to like gain all this health back, which is great. Again, working in the medical field as well make you face a lot of other cultures.
That's true.
The Asian ethnicity, they are big fan of rice. Rice is a big deal for them.
Oh yeah,
The rice is very important.
The Oriental Asian community, they do amazing sushi and
Everything was rice.
Everything is rice. Yeah,
Everything was rice. And you can't imagine, like, you see those people, they're very slim actually, and they're like diabetes is really bad, and it's because of the rice. So you have to talk to them. You have to tell them this is a problem. You have to get them out of the denial. Once they're out of denial, they understand the rice is a problem, they will be able to fix the issue. So it's the connection and the communication that will help a lot to fix the issue.
Communication, I think, is very key, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely a lot of cultural challenges. Like with food, I'll tell you, like one rule that I have for visitations that everybody knows is that, like, I don't eat in visitations.
Yeah.
And just to avoid altogether like this idea of the, you know, like, I can't tell you how many times people are like this, you know, this dessert has just a little bit of sugar. No, but I can't have it.
Yeah.
Like, you feel, so it's like, I just altogether, just no food during visitation. Everybody knows that. But definitely, like, I think the culture really has a big effect,
Of course.
on it. And this communication is key. I think I remember one time I was asked to give a topic in one of our meetings about the nutrition during the fast.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I was saying about all the things to avoid, and the people, like I was using Saint Stephen as my patron saint because I believe I was going to get stoned after this lecture. Like, I was going to get something, like some rocks thrown at me. Because they're like, Abuna, you took out every kind of possible, no rice, no macaron. What are we going to eat during the fast? We already cut out everything. And it's just the idea of, like, I think there are so many alternatives and so many, like, healthier things that you can really, if you put in the effort.
That's true.
This brings another point, though. Many people, and I don't know if this is something that you've heard or seen before, but definitely a lot of the times people, I feel, they take the shortcut, or they just don't think enough about the nutrition or about the health, because there's other things in their life maybe stressing them out. You know, this idea of stress. How much is stress, like, I know from the spiritual side and from the mental side, like, just counseling many people and taking many confessions and dealing with a lot of stuff in the service, stress is a big part that I know has affected my life and affects a lot of people's lives.
Of course.
From the spiritual aspect. how big is stress as an issue from the medical side? Is it something that you see, like you said, you've been a doctor for over 20 years. Over the last 20 years, has do you notice like increase in stress and the effects of stress on people like in a significant way, or is it something that you think is just an exaggeration?
So I will tell you, Abuna, the most common disease that we're facing is the obesity.
Yes.
The most common undiagnosed disease that we're facing is anxiety.
Wow.
Anxiety.
Wow.
Because the problem is the people that they have even anxiety and depression, there is a lot of number that they don't want to talk about it. They want to keep it secret. They want to not even mention it because they don't want anybody to talk about them or tell them that you need to see a psychiatrist.
This
or
is on the
something
medical
bad.
side?
Yeah.
They don't want to talk about the data of anxiety?
They don't want to touch it. To the point is, we created actually now a part of the vital, like when you come to the doctor, take your blood pressure, take your pulse. There is a 2 question now. It's a part of the vital about the depression.
Really?
We ask the patient over the last 2 weeks, have you been feeling down, depressed, or hopeless? Over the last 2 weeks, have you feel anxious or on the edge?
Okay.
And we see, depend on those numbers. If they come positive, then we open the panel to ask the patient about the anxiety and the depression questionnaire to find out.
So that's why you're asking me, like, whenever I come in, well, you
Yes.
ask it, I think you ask it with a little bit of sensitivity.
That's
with me,
true.
like, you're asking me, like, how I feel, if there's, like, everything has been going okay. So that's what, that explains it. So that's part of the protocol now.
It's a part of the vital signs. So it's like
okay.
you come for blood pressure. We take your blood pressure, we take your pulse, we take all the stuff, but also we ask you those 2 questions to find out. Because again, there's a lot of people, they really don't want to talk about it. When even, it's not even, some people, they said that just an Egyptian culture that we don't want to talk about anxiety. We don't want anybody to tell us like, oh, we're crazy. We don't need to see psychiatrists. But actually, most of the culture is the same. They don't really want to talk about it. They don't want to go see psychiatrists. They don't want to even talk about it to their family physician most of the time because they don't want to be on medication. They don't want anybody to think that they're not really stable.
You would think, though, that, like, with something this big, that the medical field would push for people to, push awareness with this. Like, anytime there's any major issue, there's always advertisements, and we always see, like, the doctors recommending vaccines and medications. Like, I'm surprised we don't see enough of a push with that, especially if it's the most, like, when you say it's the biggest undiagnosed sickness or issue.
Yes.
That seems like, and I mean, like, we see it more and more, and it has a lot of effects on kids and youth, and we know the spiritual side of things, but the medical side, like, many of the times, this is a struggle that we try as much as possible to change the mentality of people, that when you go for therapy or when you talk about your problems, it doesn't make you weaker, it actually makes you stronger.
It does.
But why? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just not understanding the full picture, but it just almost seems like it's like a sensitive area that nobody wants to push.
Exactly.
Why though? Like, it's
Again, it's a sensitive area, but also the thing about that, it's going up, it's increasing too, especially on the teenager and the adolescent.
yeah.
And with the social media that's going on, with all this unhealthy stuff that going around this group of age, you can see even the kids, and I'm sure you see that also in with
In
your
service,
experience and service,
absolutely.
that the young kids, the young adult, the adolescent, the teenagers, they're more under stress, they're more under anxiety. And sometimes you think about, like, they're young, how those people, they are under all this stress and anxiety. We did not have the same issue when we were young, but actually their stressors and their factors are more bigger than us, and it's all because of the social media, because all the stuff that available around them that it was not available around our time. And you see the suicidal numbers that's
Suicide
going
rate,
up,
yeah.
the all this happening in the schools. It's all because of the anxiety and then the thing is, now most of the job actually allow counseling. There's counseling available for them. So again, the anxiety and depression, it's going up. The resources is more available. It's just we need to push the people to talk about it and find the problem and get them out of the denial so we can fix the issue before developing more complication. So that's why we call it the most uncommon
The most undiagnosed.
undiagnosed disease.
I know that, like, for me personally, I at some point, like, when I noticed, like, it was about a year and some months ago, like, when I came to visit for one of the major screenings when I wasn't feeling too well, and I was feeling like, I was gaining weight, and like I started having like issues with my colon that I haven't had in years, and issues with my breathing and stuff like that. And I remember when I came, and you, like, you referred me to more than one specialist, and we did all these tests, and I remember I was like very concerned. I asked you, like, what is this because of? And you said stress. And I thought, like, at that point, that kind of helped me change my life around, and everything like that. And, thank God for where I am today. But, sometimes when, I look at that for myself as definitely, I thank God for this success, and it encourages me every day. But, I never thought that this was something that is so common that is being seen today, like to the point that it's the most undiagnosed illness. What can you tell our viewers as far as like success stories? I just shared mine, so you don't have to do that. But if you have any like success stories about like defeating stress, and definitely especially the aspect that now knowing that stress affects your well-being to the point that it can affect your metabolism, it can affect your well-being, can affect your motivation for everything. If you have any success stories that you're able to share to motivate our viewers to know that it's never too late to turn your life around. So
that's true, Abuna. And the thing is that the reason why I mentioned that the most common disease that we're facing is the obesity and anxiety. So it's actually a circle. So if we go back again, we said that it's unhealthy diet that give you unhealthy weight. And then when you have unhealthy weight, you actually lose your self-confidence. And then when you lose your self-confidence, that puts you under an anxiety because you're thinking about the people, what they're talking about you. And I can share with you multiple of stories about my patients without mentioning anybody. But once we actually able to get them back to healthy life, losing the weight that unhealthy for them, gaining their self-confidence, even though they were taking a lot of anxiety medication and depression medication at that point, all this changed and their life totally changes now. And they only come for like the checkup only, and it's totally different life. And you can see that, and you as a physician be very happy with them. See their happiness in their face. See how is their relationship in their life with their spouses, with their co-workers, with their kids as well, how they change it. So it's a circle. Once you break that circle between the stress, the obesity, the unhealthy weight, the unhealthy habits that we have, everything will change. Their life become totally different. And I always tell my patient, I always tell everybody, even I always tell even my kids, the problem with us is actually after we talk about that and find out the communication, get you out of the denial, you have this big push in your life, and okay, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna do everything, I'm gonna throw everything in the pantry, I'm gonna get all this healthy food, I'm gonna do everything right, I'm gonna get out of the stressor. And guess what? Just 1 day, 2 days, and then you go back to your bad habit. But I always tell everybody, and I always tell my patient, my kids, that small, persistent, it changes. That's more important than big, large change that will subside with one.
Same thing that's exactly what we say for like whenever we in the spiritual canon, like with prayer, we never, everybody in the beginning of the fast is so motivated, or the beginning of Holy Week or whatever, I'm gonna read like the whole Bible during the fast, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna pray every prayer, and then we fall off real quick, right? And the idea is that you start small and you grow. This idea of like growth, and it's amazing how that's life. Actually, in every aspect of life, that's how it is. Anything that you start with moderation and you grow in moderation is maintained over time.
That's true.
Whether it's food or gym or spiritual canon or anything like this.
But it's just that you make it persistent, you make it last for longer. But if you make a big change, you will not be able to do it.
That's amazing. So is there like one or two stories that you can share with us that have stuck with you over the years, that maybe made you see what you're teaching in action, that like success stories, like without mentioning names or anything like that, like where there was a big challenge and then like they actually had their life change around, and they So
I will share two stories. One story, actually, it's you, Abuna. That's true. When we start, like back in the days, as you mentioned, after you get ordained, and how we went through everything, and now how is your life look like, and how you become like healthy, you lost unhealthy weight, and now you're exercising, even you're taking care of what's your diet. I always look how much food that you're eating, how much calories that you're doing, how much coffee that I'm doing, how much. This is big change. So I see that in you, and I'm sure that also I see you like more active and more happy, and that's actually one of the big, I would say this is one of the thing. And as a physician, you feel so happy. As I mentioned, that's one of your certificate that you put in your heart, like, hey, I was able to change some lives. The other story is the other way, the patient that you don't listen. So I would tell you, like, I have a patient, I keep telling them like this, you have to change that lifestyle. They're a smoker. They're not Coptic Orthodox, but I'm just sharing it.
Right.
So they're a smoker. I keep telling them, you need to quit smoking. You need to do that. You need to quit smoking. This is really dangerous for you. And he did not listen to me. And I even to the point tell him, like, you're gonna develop a lung cancer at some point. And what happened is he actually developed a lung cancer after that, and he's really struggling. So you see the both side. You see the side that you're talking, like you're listening and doing what you're supposed to do, and the other side that, okay, I'm in denial, and you can't get them out. But again, this is the thing that you, as a physician, you can't lose the face. You have to keep pushing those people. You're even that patient. Every time he comes, I keep talking to him every day. Every time he comes, tell him the same. And even now, you have to support him even during his treatment.
Of course.
Journey.
Yeah.
But and I always say that we are actually in a culture here, or we're blessed here to have all this kind of a screening method that's available.
Absolutely.
We don't have the screening method available back in Egypt. It's not. We did not hear about the mammogram, the colonoscopy for colon cancer screening, the CT scan lung for lung cancer. We did not have this.
That's true.
But now, actually, we live here in a country that we're blessed to have all the screening method.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just all what you need to do is just you follow the screening method, follow the healthy lifestyle that's available and you can follow, and it's easy to follow, and you will be fine. So the story is a lot for both sides, a side that listen and a side does not listen. But yeah,
I want to thank our viewers for tuning in. We will have a part 2 to this beautiful episode, so don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Sabers of Light. And if you would like to contribute to our service, you can use the Zelle link shown on the screen below. We'll see you for part 2. God bless you.